You're not broke. You're bleeding wealth. Three things you must never give away. There is a mistake people make that feels like virtue. It feels right. It feels noble. It even feels spiritual. But it has consequences. Not immediate, not loud, slow, silent. And by the time you notice it, it has already taken years from you, years of effort, with nothing to show for it. You work, you push, you sacrifice, and yet you remain in the same place. Not because you didn't try, not because you lack intelligence, but because something has been draining you this entire time. Not once, not occasionally, repeatedly. And the worst part, you didn't even realize it was happening. Most people think poverty is about income. They think if they just earn more, everything will change. But if that were true, every high earner would be wealthy. And they're not. There are people who earn large amounts of money and still remain financially unstable. And there are people who earn modest incomes and slowly build lasting security. So the difference is not just what comes in, it's what stays, it's what accumulates, it's what compounds over time. Because wealth is not built by income alone, it is built by retention, and retention is determined by something most people ignore: what they give away, not consciously, unconsciously, every day. There are three things that, if you keep giving them away, will guarantee you never build wealth. Not because life is unfair, but because the system cannot sustain itself when its foundation is constantly leaking. And that's the word you need to understand. Leak. Not loss. Leak. Because loss feels sudden, but leakage is continuous. It happens in small amounts, repeatedly, until eventually there is nothing left, and you wonder, where did it all go? Now here's where it becomes uncomfortable, because the things you've been losing are the same things you've been praised for giving: your kindness, your availability, your willingness to help. And again, there is nothing wrong with those things. But when they are misapplied, they stop being strengths and start becoming liabilities. Because generosity without boundaries is not generosity, it's self-destruction. And self-destruction disguised as virtue is the hardest pattern to break. Because you don't question it, you defend it, you justify it, you continue it while it quietly drains you. So let's break it down. The first thing people give away without realizing its value is their time. Not just hours, but energy, attention, focus. Every time you say yes when you should say no, you are transferring something valuable, something finite, something you cannot recover. Your time is not renewable. Once it's gone, it's gone. But most people treat it as if it's unlimited. They give it away casually, helping, fixing, explaining, supporting, without ever asking, what am I receiving in return? And this is not about being transactional. It's about being intentional. Because if your time has no structure, it will be consumed by others. And if it's constantly consumed, it cannot be invested. And if it's not invested, it cannot produce anything. So you end up busy, but not progressing, active, but not advancing, giving, but not growing. And over time, that creates exhaustion, not from working too hard, but from working without return. Now multiply that over months, over years, and what you get is a life of effort without accumulation. That's the first leak. The second is money, but not spending, misplaced giving. There is a difference between generosity and financial irresponsibility, but most people blur that line. They lend without structure, they give without clarity, they support without boundaries, and then they wonder why they never get ahead. Because every time money leaves your control, without a defined path back, it weakens your foundation. And a weak foundation cannot hold growth. It doesn't matter how much comes in. If it keeps going out, uncontrolled, nothing builds. And here's the deeper problem. Every time you allow that to happen, you reinforce a pattern of loss, and patterns become expectations. So now, even when you receive money, you subconsciously expect it to leave. And because you expect it, you behave in ways that make it true. That's how cycles are formed, not by one decision, but by repeated behavior. Now the third leak, and this one is the most dangerous, because it doesn't feel like you're losing anything, attention. Where your focus goes, your life follows. If your attention is scattered, your results will be scattered. If your attention is consumed by negativity, your perception becomes limited. And perception determines decisions. So even when opportunity is in front of you, you don't see it because your attention is elsewhere. Most people give away their attention constantly, scrolling, comparing, reacting, absorbing other people's lives, other people's problems, other people's priorities. And in doing that, they lose control of their own because attention is not passive, it is directional. It determines what you build and what you ignore. So if you're constantly focused on what's wrong, you will reinforce what's wrong. If you're constantly focused on what's missing, you will amplify what's missing. And that creates a mindset that cannot sustain wealth because wealth requires clarity and clarity requires control of attention. So now you see the full picture: time, money, attention. Three things, three leaks, three areas where most people lose everything without realizing it. And here's the key insight. I'll find that these are not separate. They are connected. Your attention controls your time. Your time controls your income. Your income reflects how well you manage both. So if one is leaking, the entire system is weakened. And if all three are leaking, nothing can be sustained. No matter how hard you work, no matter how much potential you have, no matter how many opportunities appear, because the structure cannot hold them. So the goal is not just to earn more. The goal is to stop the leaks. Because once the leaks stop, everything changes. Not because something new is created, but because what already exists finally stays. And what stays builds. And what builds compounds. And what compounds becomes wealth. This is the part most people miss. Wealth is not created suddenly. It is accumulated gradually. Through consistency, through structure, through protection. So if you've been stuck, if you've been trying, if you've been doing everything you thought was right, then don't change everything. Change what you protect, because what you protect determines what you keep, and what you keep determines what you build, and what you build determines your future.